Today's background is little bit changed, so please avoid the background noise. And today's topic is evolution. So let's get started with me for myself evolution. Okay, so let's get started without delay the time. So here's the topic of evolution. Started with the origin of life. So origin of life on earth is a scientific problem. When it's not yet solved, there are the plenty of ideas, but few clear facts. It is a journal agree that all life today evolved from the common descendant from single primitive life forms. Okay, so here's the some theories belonging from the evolution origination. So how they follow, so how these theories are says that evolution's origin related about how evolutions. So first of that is parspermia. So here parspermia means seed everywhere. The parsimony hypothesis states that the seeds of life exist all over the universe and can be propagated through sperm from one location to another. Some believe the life of earth may be oriented through their seeds. It means they want to say that the seeds comes in earth from any other plant, and they are originated in earth, and they are the main source of the origin of life in the earth. Okay, and it all this thing says in the parspermia theory. Okay, so we come on second one, spontaneous. Aristotle proposed and lost it almost 2000 years ago. Idea of living things are arises from the non-living matter, also called abiogenesis, later called spontaneous generation. See, firstly it's called abiogenesis. It means the living thing is generated from the non-living things. It is now it is clearly think that it is not possible, but in before 2000 year ago, so there is no more acknowledgement and knowledge about that. So everyone says that, yeah, Aristotle says that, so it is also a correct thing, but now it is completely denied, because after some time, before in 18th and 19th century, some scientists proved that the living things is originated always from the living things. Okay, so is the third one is the biogenesis. Louis Pasteur disproved the theory of the spontaneous generation. Louis Pasteur derived a way of the flask thus allow oxygen. Okay, Louis Pasteur done an experiment in which he take a two flask that allow oxygen, but it one is prevented by the dust from entering the both. Okay, and did not so matlab, if the one is completely preserved and did not enter any kind of dust, so these did not show any sign of love, but broken necks. The flask contained broth. Its neck was broken, so the flask contained broth plus dust to show fly larvas. Okay, so sir, fourth one is a chemical evolution. Condition of early earth: high temperature, no oxygen. It means its environment is reduced from light present, given by O'Brien and Holden. So it's experiment done by O'Brien and Holden. So rain plus organic molecule plus oxygen less atmosphere plus sunlight created primordial soup. Calcareous droplet complex from the primordial, okay, soup. So the spontaneous, there's the example belonging to the some spontaneous or abiogenesis theory. Mice come from the moldy grains, sewage and the garbage turned into the rat. Sources of the flies are meat. Let's say that in early days Sundays are open. Sundays, butcher shops continue open their shops, so they attract the meat, they attract the fly. It's a common sense, but its source of the generation of flies, it completely nonsense. Okay, muddy soil gave rise to the frogs, because they had no proper sewage system in the early centuries. So muddy soil gave rise to the frog. It's completely nonsense thing. Okay, so now we talk about the Miller-Urey experiment, chemical experiment that stimulated the condition through at the time to prepare on early earth and tested the chemical origin of life. Under those conditions, set environment of earth, primitive condition was capable of the producing the building block of life from inorganic material like amino acid, created a cloud channel resembling primitive earth condition. Ammonia, methane, hydrogen were introduced in water containing to stimulate lightning discharge, supplied the system with electric current. After a few days, Miller observed flasks containing a compound and some amino acids serve as a building block of protein. So, conclusion is this amino acid could have a arise. Abiotic evolution explains how living organisms change on the genetic level after its origin, and over generation modify or change in the characteristic help to understand the history of life. It means the evolution is the ecology. Evolution is the goalless. It may be beneficial, advantage, neutral, or lethal disadvantage. Okay, so here's the example. Here's the experiment done by Miller and Urey, in which Miller is the student and Urey is the professor, and is the ratio of the hydrogen, methane, and ammonia is to 1 is to 2 is to 2, and the electric spark to vacuum pump, sampling probe, rotation, heat source. Okay, it may be. So reason behind evolution is the four forces of the evolution. All four these are mutation, gene flow, genetic drift, and natural selection. Theory of evolution, mostly the Lamarckism and Darwinism. So here let's go with the Lamarck theory of evolution. Lamarckism is the unsupported by scientific evidence, also known as the Lamarckism. French biologist published first theory of evolution called theory of use and disuse, or inheritance of acquired character. Change in character occur by the environment during the life of an individual and become hereditary and can be inherited to next generation. The surrounding ecological condition in which an organism living cause it to certain needs. Yeah, the habitat is much create a big differentiation of the how the animal evolved, because the habitat is require some organ is more or some less. So on that condition, organism or individual modify their organ or dysfunction of their organ. The need is fulfilled by modification of existing organ or producing a new rudimentary organ. If organ not used very long time, that it will be lost, or if it used regularly, so it need be modification. Cave fish eye reduced because they live in their habitat. There is a completely dark, so there is no use of the eyes, but they activate their sensory organs. Giraffe neck long due to the eat leaf of long trees. Now we come on Darwin theory. Darwin theory comes in 1858. Okay, all species evolve from the one of the few common ancestors through the process of the natural selection. Widely accepted and new form the basis of modern evolution theory, origin of species. He punts that the natural selection is a mechanism of evolution. According to the Darwin, the inherited vary, they increase the organism's chance of survival in a particular environment is called adaptation. Okay, natural selection is the different survival and reproduction of the individual. Natural selection is a differential survival and reproduction of individual due to different the phenotype. It is the key mechanism of evolution. The change in the hereditary trait characteristic of population over generation. Natural selection is a quite favored to survive, because if you are not change your habitat, change your conditions, what was your demand, but you do always against the demanding things, so you completely demolished. Okay, but you done you improve your things, what was want and what was we can do, so it modify your thing and you completely succeed your life and you naturally survive. Two factors behind the natural selection is struggle for existence. Scarcity of resources lead to competition between individuals of same sex because limited resources. Yeah, where it is a common thing, because the two animal belonging, they have a same resources for food. So if one take more, so second one they don't have eat sufficient because the resources are limited. So the first struggle of existence, because when you born, firstly you need what? Food. Okay, so scarcity of resources lead to competition between individuals of the same species. Now the natural selection, second one, survival of the fittest. Competition would lead to the death of the some individual while others survive. So Darwin concluded that individual having advantage variation are more likely to survive and reproduce than those without the advantage of variation. Okay, now we go on the criticism theory of spatial criticism. Criticism, it is a everything have a two things. One is a spiritual, one is scientific. So we talk about scientific. Now we come on the spirituality. Criticism is the religion belief that nature in the aspects such as the universe, earth, life, and the human originated with the supernatural act of the divine creation. Some point were kept to support this. Some no adaptation, no evolution, no difference in their appearance. Above point were the recreate for rejection also. Now we talk about the Darwin theory of evolution. And adaptation is the feature that is common in the population because it provides some improved function. Adaptation as well filtered to their function and produced by the natural selection, because due to the adaptation the individual is capable to survive in any kind of habitat, so it's favor natural selection. Like examples, giraffe neck, long neck due to survival of the fittest, which lead to the natural selection of long neck giraffe. Darwin finches, adaptive radiation in the relatively fast evolution of many species from the single common ancestor. Adaptive radiation generally occur when enter new area and different rate affect its survival. Okay, radiation are the emerging a different direction from a common ancestor by course of the adaptation readily generally occur when an organism enter a new area and different rate affect its survival from signal ancestor that are radiant toward different direction. Now we talk about the changement in the neo-Darwinism. Neo-Darwinism is the all with the Darwin theory plus it add with mutation, also known as synthetic theory of the evolution. According to this theory of mutation recognizes the source of the genetic variation. Neo-Darwinism is there the evidence to support the inheritance of the acquired character. For example, effect of radiation and chemical on germ cell resulting change in the phenotypic of cell. Inheritance of acquired change revived the Lamarck theory as Neo-Lamarckism. Germ cell are not always as same the ancestor one, they continuously change. That changes shows the population of the one family, the variation of the 0.1 99.9 are similar, but due to the change in 0.1 it's due to the germ cell changes. Immune from the effect of environment, germ cell may be affected directly by environment without any effect on the somatic cell. Germ cell may carry acquired character to the next generation. Although Darwin is given credit for theory of the natural selection, other scientist Alfred Wallace proposed a theory of evolution that was quite similar to Darwin theory. Alfred Wallace was a naturalist who independently proposed a theory of evolution by natural selection, quite similar theory of the natural selection. He proposed natural selection is a different survival or reproduction. Now we talk about the natural selection. Darwin proposed of natural selection has 4 compartments. Variation, population exhibit variation in appearance and behavior. Yeah, anyone 2% look like if we talk about their character, that they have a definitely vary due to their appearance, their behavior, their setting structure, their many kind of things, they completely vary. Inheritance trait are constitutively passed one parent to the offspring. High rate of population differential survival and reproduction. There is the variation in trait. For example, some beetles are green and some are brown. They are the different reproduction. Since the environment cannot support ultimate population growth, not all individuals get to the reproduce to the full potential. To the example, brown beetle tend to get eaten by the bird, survive to reproduce less often. Then green beetle do much more good as compared to the brown because they have a high chance to reproduce properly because they are not take as a prey by the predators. Okay, there is the hereditary survival. Green beetle have a green offspring better because the trait has the genetic basis, but after some time it is quite harmful for the green because due to the continue as a prey brown, the concentration of the brown is low, so the predator change their food. Now he invests more in green as compared to brown because green is easily as available as compared to the brown. Okay, advantage trait, green color better to have a more offspring because more common in the population. The process continue, eventually all individual population will be green. If there is the variation, different reproduction and heredity have evolved by natural selection and the outcome. Industrial mammalian in England is the good example of the direction selection. Exhibit prepared moth dark and light color. Before industrialization, light color moth had high, dark moth less because light tree bark due to the lichen pollution free environment. After industrialization, light color moth low, dark moth high, dark tree bark due to death of the lichen or pollutant. High pollutant environment favor dark color and less polluted environment favor light color. So reason selective advantage to the gene responsible for the melanism and dark color moth increase in the frequency. Distant Betelgeuse has been calculated to give a fitness advantage till 30%. By the end of the 19th century, it is almost completely replaced the original light colored moth, forming a peak of the 98% of the population. Now we talk about the trade-off. It is a situation discussing that evolve diminishing or losing one quantity or property set of the design. Return from the gain on the aspect in similar term. A trade-off is when one thing is ups and other is down. If you read it, so definitely you don't play it. If you so you got a high number but you miss your playground, if you not miss your playground, so definitely you also enjoy the punishment given by your parents, because their report card shows that see how good in your study. It means if you study a lot, so you miss your, it's a it's a fun way of example, no? Because one thing is up, so always one thing is down. Because if you eat a lot food, so you miss uh, sweet. If you if you not enjoy the food, so that's why you eat sweet. Okay, there are the many example of trade-off. Okay, analogy: in cold climate in which all the fingers are the same, so these some example of trade-off. Or you may also say that if you wake up late, so you do not enjoy the sunrise. Okay, so we talk about analogy: in cold climate military gloves in which all the fingers are the some compartments say well to the keep to the hand warm, but the management also confirm finger movement and prevent the full range of the hand function. Okay, if you wear a gloves, you're not capable to touch all the devices. So if you want to touch the devices, you always you remove the clubs. So analogy is the kind of example. Birth weight: if high birth weight provide a high chance of surviving the few weeks baby, but babies too large have a high mortality. Birth rate is inversely proportional to the chance of survival. Now we talk about elk antlers. It positivity for defense against predator and to scare bacteria to avoid it, but they are the costly in terms of resources. Yeah, elk antlers are quite sufficient to create a threat to against their predators, but it's quite also uh, take enough energy from their resources. So it's provided, it's make you more smart, but it need more care. Horse legs are great for the running on the grasses, but they cannot scratch their back. And the mammals here help for the temperature but offer a niche for ectoparasites. Okay, the mating time: camouflage to avoid detection and destroy when vivid coloration and display at the mating time. Here the risk to life is country balanced but necessary for the reproduction. Peacock tail: heavy beautiful tail, need more energy, difficult in flying but more reproductive success. It is also example of the handicap rule. Positive negative balancing: positive genetic change that confer high fitness tend to increase the frequency over time the population. The evolution process is called positive selection. Genetic change that low in the organism fitness tend to disappear from the population through a process called negative selection. It means genetic change that confirm high fitness, so it favor for the individual, so it is a positive balancing because it increase the number of the population. But on the other hand, genetic changes that reduce the organ fitness tend to disappear because it reduces the population. Death rate increase, birth rate is decreased, so it is a negative balancing. Now we talk about balancing. It may happen that a mutation is advantage only in heterozygous condition but not in homozygous condition, such as allele tell to maintain an intermediate frequency in the population through a balancing. So today is enough for that. So we talk about later. Today's talk is tomorrow we discuss about the stabilization, direct and destructive selection. So we meet tomorrow. Bye bye.